Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing a what I read in the month of August video, so if you want to know what I've been reading, just keep watching. The first book that I read in August was The Roommate by Rosie Danan. Oh my god, this feels like a lifetime ago that I read this, but I remember literally everything. It is such a good book. The book follows Josh, who has made a career for himself online as a porn star, and a girl called Clara who has moved to this new state, who was meant to move in with one of her old male best friends who she had a crush on, but then he ditched her to go and like perform with his band around America, and he basically put his room like on Craigslist or something, and this guy Josh has taken the room because he needs a place to stay. So Clara and Josh end up becoming like roommates, so it's forced proximity. She finds out through her aunt who Josh is, and the story basically unravels from there. There's Josh, Clara and another girl who I can't remember her name, but they basically decide to quit the porn industry that they're in and kind of make their own website where it's more of like an educational website and like a relationship obviously ensues, and it's like back and forth, and the other girl is kind of like still into Josh. The other girl, she's also a porn star, is Josh's ex-girlfriend, so it's a little bit awkward. I gave this book a 4.5 stars. It was such an easy, cute read. Absolutely loved it. Please read this if you haven't. It's just really, really cute. So the next book I read was on my Kindle, and it was called House Across the Lake by Riley Sagar. This, when I read it, had so much, it kind of like blew up I think on like YouTube and TikTok. Oh my god, it was so good. It's basically a murder mystery thriller type book. This woman, once again I can't remember what her name was, basically she was kind of in the spotlight. I believe she was like a Broadway actor, and she is suffering. Her husband basically died, and since then she's been kind of relying on alcohol, and she kind of goes off on one, and it's all publicized. So her mum says, go to the lake house, take some time away from everything, from everyone, just kind of like put yourself in your own kind of rehab. This girl isn't happy about that, but she does what she has to because the limelight is all on her. They think she's like a psycho. So she goes to this lake house, and opposite where she's staying is another rich family. You've got Catherine, who used to be a supermodel, and her husband Tom. He is like an app developer, I believe, something in like electronics and technology. So she is out on her boat on the lake, this other woman, and notices Catherine's lifeless body in the water. She thinks that Catherine's dead, pulls her up onto the boat, and suddenly she becomes alive again. And it's like a miracle. It's like, oh my god. And the story slowly unfolds, and then Catherine is confiding in the other woman, and the other woman seems to believe that Tom, Catherine's husband, is trying to kill her because she has been like looking at weird things online, and the Broadway play that the other woman was in as a child was all about husband killing her wife through poisoning. And she sits every day on her porch looking over at Catherine and Tom's house, and she notices that Catherine seems very on edge. And then you've got an ex-police officer who also comes over to help, and every couple of chapters you get a present day of what's happening, and it doesn't specify who is being questioned in the basement of one of these lake houses. And it's just really, really interesting. I don't want to say too much without spoiling it, but it definitely, I believe, deserves the hype that it has got. So next I read Blindside by Kandi Steiner. This was through Kindle Unlimited, and I would recommend this if you have it. It's basically a sports romance. I think this is my second sports romance I've read, and I actually really enjoy the trope, even though I'm not into sports at all in real life. This book is basically about a girl called Gianna, who is a kind of school news reporter. She's basically on an internship, and then you've got Clay, who is a really popular kind of football player in the school. and Gianna basically has to obviously interview these footballers, and one day Clay gets really kind of horrible with her. He doesn't want to answer any of her questions, he's just being really rude, and she's like, well, just wanted to ask you some questions, like what's going on. Basically, as the story develops, you find out that he and his girlfriend kind of broke up over the summer holidays, and he's now really upset about it. Meanwhile, Gianna is currently pining for this guy who sits in the local school kind of coffee shop singing his own songs, and she really wants to get noticed by him, she really wants to date him. So Clay comes up with this wild theory that they're going to fake date, and the goal of this is to make Clay's ex-girlfriend jealous, so she'll want to get back with him, and so the guy that Gianna likes will notice her and finally actually talk to her. The only problem is feelings develop on both sides, but they don't want to tell each other because they've agreed that there will be no kind of relationship between them. I really liked this book. I did only give it a 3.5 stars though. It was cute, it was fun, there wasn't really much plot. I did feel like I was reading a Wattpad kind of book, but for something a little bit fun, a little bit light-hearted, it was a really good book. After that, I then read The Road Trip by Beth O'Leary. I gave this book a 2 stars. It is basically what it says it is, a story about a road trip. They break down many times in this book, constantly have to stop. They've picked up a straggler called Rodney, who they found him through like some kind of Facebook group, who was also going to this wedding. They're going to a wedding in Scotland, and they're having to travel however many miles through England to get to Scotland. We've got Addie and Dylan, who are like the main characters, and they used to have a relationship back when they were younger. They met in France. She was doing like a work experience type thing, and he's from a really rich, wealthy family, so they used to just stay there over the summer holidays. This is how their relationship starts. This is how Addie and Dylan know each other, and they basically end up having a car crash with each other, and Addie and her friend Deb then have to give Dylan and Marcus a lift to the wedding as well, because they can't just leave them there because they're like, we're distant people, we will take you. However, they've picked up a guy called Rodney, who was from a Facebook group, who has claimed that he knows the woman who is getting married, and he's been invited. So they're all going up to Scotland, and every chapter is like present day and past day, and you really see how their relationship between Addie and Dylan has unfolded, and basically just what went wrong. I did not like the characters in this whatsoever. The only time it got mildly interesting for me was when they found out Rodney was not who he claimed he was, but that literally lasted like 2 chapters until you found out the real reason why he was a psycho. There was no mystery, not really any adventure. I personally did not like this. Next, I read Ali Hazelwood's newest release, Love on the Brain. This follows a girl called Bea and a guy called Levi who went to college together, but they've got some kind of rivalry going on. She is absolutely convinced that Levi hates her. She's like, I can't work in the same department as Levi, he absolutely hates me, he's going to humiliate me in front of the whole class because that's what he did in college, he's horrible, like so mean to me. And you notice that the way he comes off towards Bea is a bit standoffish, but that's because he also thought that she hated him. And it's just a really cute book. I felt like, even though it was meant to be kind of like an enemies to lovers trope, I did feel like there wasn't much hating going on. Like, it felt like very insta-lovey, like the characters, one minute they hated each other, the next he's rescuing her from a graveyard that she's stuck in, and now they're like in love. But I also think that because I had such high standards this because of the love hypothesis, this is why I didn't like it as much. It's still a very good book, and if you love the love hypothesis, I would recommend this because Ali Hazelwood's writing is just really good. I give this 4 stars. Last book I read in August was Influencer Island by Kyle Rutkin. This, oh my god, this book was horrifying. It was a very, very short read. I have it on my Kindle. It must have only been like 200 or 300 pages, not even that. I read it so quickly, and it's written in like an interview style format, so everything you're learning is as if you're reading like a transcript from a podcast, which was really interesting, and I really liked that format of writing. It felt very more like kind of personal with the characters. It's basically about this guy called James Wyatt, who's kind of like a modern day kind of Banksy. He's drawing people who then end up dying in like a portrait, but he's like blurring their eyes out with like a gold paint over their eyes. But everyone knows who these people are from their facial features and their body features, and all the people he seems to paint end up tragically dying a couple months or a couple weeks later. So it's like, oh my god, this guy knows who's going to die. This guy then creates a competition called Influencer Island, and everyone has to submit a video saying why they want to be on it. And these two girls, one's a surfer girl and one is a singer, who get taken to the island. And on this island you have these models who a week before the competition started were flown out in like private jets to this island with James, and they're all like on private yachts and stuff, kind of like, imagine Fire Festival, kind of like that, but more sinister. These models don't know what they're getting themselves into until they get to the island, and they discover that they are literally all going to die on this island unless they follow James's instructions. These models are basically told to mentor these people who come onto the island, all the contestants, and they're put through vigorous kind of challenges, and if they fail the challenge, not only do they die, but the mentor also gets horrifically hurt or like dies. And the way these kind of challenges are made, it's all like focusing on these people's main fears. It was a really interesting concept and a really interesting book, and a very easy read. If you're after some kind of thriller, horror, murder, mystery type book that's like really short and really easy, 100% recommend Influence Island. I did only give it 3.5 stars though. That's because there wasn't much build up. It was very much like beginning, middle, end. It was very straight cut. That was it. So that is everything that I read in the month of August. If you enjoyed it, please give it a big thumbs up, and please be sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos from me, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.